Chapter 34, The Past Revealed. Disclaimer: Soylent Green may be composed of up to 99% people. The past revealed. So what's your business, Mr. Black? The bartender asked, and the entire bar froze to hear the answer. I'm just a guy on vacation, Harry shrugged. I'll admit that I've helped a few friends, but other than that, well, I just want to have a bit of fun. Yup. The bar patrons nodded. This was Mr. Black and not another poser trying to score free drinks. So what are you doing around here? The bartender raised his eyebrow. Visiting the mines. This just happened to be the nearest town. Harry took a sip of his drink. Any recommendations? You could try your luck at opal mining. One of the patrons gave his opinion. What the town was built around. Sounds interesting. Harry smiled. How do you go about it? Get a bit of land and go looking. The man shrugged. No guarantee that you'll find anything, but I enjoy it. How long does it take? Harry took another sip. I'm expecting a few of my friends to come by in a few hours. I'm Henry Blake, and I'll tell you what. Henry smiled. I'll let you poke over my land till your friends get here in a few hours, and you can keep whatever you find. Sure. Harry finished his drink. Don't know that I'll do it that long, but it sounds like fun. What does an opal look like? Just dig till you hear the sound of broken glass. Henry smiled. And keep the rocks that make that sound, okay? Harry nodded. Where's your land? Go down that hall till you come to a red door. Henry pointed. Knock on the door and tell my wife what I told you. She'll show you to where we're digging. Thanks. Harry nodded. But why is the entrance to your mine down this hall? 'Cause it's also my house. Henry laughed. When we were digging out my house, we found enough opals to pay for the construction. I've got a little one on the way, and I've been expanding the house a bit. Haven't found anything much, but I have high hopes that something will turn up. So it's not so much you letting me dig your mine. Harry smirked. As you tricking me into building a new room for your house. You got it, mate. Henry laughed. Mind you, I wish you the best of luck, and I know that there are more opals down there. Thanks. Harry smiled. I'll see you in a few. Take as long as you like. Henry called after Harry. With my luck she'll have triplets, and I'll need a bigger room than I thought. You're playing with fire, mate. One of the other patrons took a sip of his drink. Black is a cold-blooded killer. You saw what happened to that spider. He may be a killer, but he's on our side. Henry smiled. I'm not an outlaw, and neither is my wife. What's the harm in letting the man have a bit of fun? With your luck he'll find a mess of opals and clean the room out. The bartender added his opinion. You'll have your room, but he'll have $1 million. Probably. Henry nodded. But I'll still have my room in 10 years. Who knows what would happen to all that money? Excuse me. Harry knocked on the red door. Yes, a very pregnant and very beautiful red-headed woman answered the door with a large smile. What can I do for you? Henry told me I could come down here and try my luck for a few hours. Harry smiled. That is, if you don't mind. You do know that he's just trying to get out of digging the bloody room himself, don't you? The woman raised an eyebrow. He's been trying that trick on tourists for the last week. I know. Harry nodded. And I'll bet I am the first one dumb enough to fall for it, especially since he admitted what his intentions were. You're right about that. The woman laughed. Come in and make yourself comfortable. I'm Daphne. I am Mr. Black. Harry smiled. It's nice to meet you. Did you say your name was Mr. Black? Daphne's eyes widened. Yeah, why? Harry blinked. No reason. Daphne shrugged. I'll get you a spade and set you to work. Thanks. Harry followed the woman down the hall. Here it is. The woman waved at a half-dug room. Just don't dig through this wall. What do you want me to do with the dirt? Harry looked around. Just fill the buckets. Daphne smiled. I'll have Henry take it out. Can't let him get out of all the work, can I? I guess not. Harry smiled. Let me get you something to drink. Daphne smiled. I can't let you do all this for nothing. Thank you. Harry picked up a spade and set to work. Daphne returned with a pitcher of lemonade a few minutes later. Don't work too hard. Most new chums work too hard when they first start out, and they get all sorts of problems from the heat or from not drinking enough water. I want you to stop and tell me if you start to feel sick or dizzy. Okay. Harry took a sip. Thank you. I'll be in the other room if you need anything. Daphne smiled. You have fun. Thank you. Harry set his glass down. I will. Harry worked for a few more minutes before he heard the sound of broken glass. Reaching in, he found and pulled out a small clay-covered stone. Well, Harry smiled as he examined the broken stone with a bluish glass center. I guess I found my first opal. Neat. Harry continued to work and continued to find opals. After a few minutes a small pile formed in one corner of the room, and Harry decided that he had spent enough time as an opal miner. Selecting a few of the smaller stones for his friends and keeping the first stone for himself, Harry walked out of the room in search of his hostess. Done then. Daphne smiled. Did you have any luck? I found a few stones. Harry smiled as he pulled them out of his pocket. This is the first one I found. It's neat, isn't it? Yes, it is. Daphne nodded. Congratulations. You can call yourself an opal. Oh, what's wrong? Harry's eyes widened in fear. I think the baby is coming. Daphne leaned back. You just relax. Harry pulled out his cell phone. I'm going to call a doctor. Hurry. Daphne gave a strained smile. Because I don't think this will wait. I will. Harry stepped out into the hall. Professor, can you hear me? I hear you, my friend. The professor's voice answered. We're right above your location. Good timing. I was just about to contact you. I need the doctor to come down to my location right away. Harry forced himself to remain calm. A woman is about to have a baby. We are on our way. The professor's voice turned serious. The doctor says to go sit with her and that she will be down in a few minutes. Henchgerald says that she is coming too. Okay? Harry nodded. Blackout. Harry rushed back into the room and sat next to Daphne. Well, the woman's eyes focused on his face. The doctor will be here in a few minutes. Harry bit his lower lip. She told me to sit with you until she got here. Breathe. You haven't done this before, have you? Daphne gave a short laugh. No. Harry shook his head. Have you? No. Daphne grabbed Harry's hand. But I guess we can learn together. I guess. Harry glanced at the front door. Where are they? Right here. Henchgerald walked in. Sorry it took so long, but the professor passed out. What? Harry's brows came together. He was so excited that there was a baby on the way that he passed out. Henchgerald repeated. He gets like that sometimes. Oh? Harry gave a slow nod. Do either of you need me for anything, or can I go tell the father? Go tell the father. The doctor opened her bag. We'll take care of Daphne Blake, Harry answered. Daphne? The doctor nodded. I'll be right back. Harry opened the door and ran down the hall to the bar. Back so soon? The bartender looked up. Henry, Harry called out. Your wife is having her baby now. I've got the doctor and Henchgerald with you and I thought you might want to be there too. My baby's coming. Henry dropped his beer. I gotta go. Congratulations, mate. The bartender slapped the man on the back. No, get out of here. Henry sprang from his chair and took off down the hall towards his house. Lucky bastard. The bartender smiled. Yeah. Harry reached into his pocket and slapped a wad of bills on the bar. Drinks are on me till this runs out. Thanks, mate. The bartender smiled. Henry's a good man and we appreciate you doing this for him. I'm just not sure if I should stay here or go with him. Harry glanced at the door. Stay here. The bartender waved towards one of the chairs. At least for a couple of rounds. Okay? Harry nodded. If you insist. The bar patrons cheered and beer flowed like water. Toast after toast was raised towards Henry, his wife, and new child. I better get going. Harry rose after his fourth round. I want to see how Daphne's doing. Give her our best, mate. The bartender nodded. I will. Harry walked down the hall towards the Blake residence and knocked on the door. What do you want? A strange woman answered the door with a frown. I've just wanted to see how Henry and Daphne were doing. Harry smiled. And to say hi to Henchgerald and the doctor. Who are you? The woman's frown deepened. Mr. Black. Harry gave a nervous smile. Oh? The woman stepped back to allow entrance. Sorry about that, but once the guys found out that Henchgerald was visiting, well, you know, Harry blinked. No, I don't. Is everything okay? Yeah. The woman pulled Harry in. The baby was born and Daphne's been asking about you. About me? Harry followed the woman down a short hall and to another door. Yeah. The woman nodded. Go in, okay? Harry entered the room to see Henchgerald cooing over a small bundle while the doctor supervised Daphne being held in Henry's embrace, and a half-dozen jealous women waiting for their turn to hold the baby. Mr. Black, Daphne smiled when she noticed Harry's entrance. There is something Henry and I wanted to talk with you about. Sure. Harry nodded. We wanted you to be our daughter's godfather. Henry smiled. And I wanted you to know how much I appreciate the way you brought in the doctor to look after my wife. No problem. Harry smiled. It was the least I could do. So will you do it? Daphne got to the heart of the matter. There's no one we'd rather have as her godfather. Sure. Harry thought of serious. I'd be honored. Excellent. Henry smiled. So what do I have to do? Harry's smile widened. Nothing. Daphne shrugged. We don't go much for ceremonies, so you don't have to worry about that. We just wanted her to have a godfather and we couldn't think of a better person. Thanks. Harry glanced down at his watch. And unfortunately it looks like we have to go. Come on, Henchgerald. Okay? Henry gave the baby one last cuddle before handing her back to her mother. "Let me walk you to the door," Henry smiled. "Sure," Harry nodded as the group walked out of the room. "I've just wanted to tell you again how much I appreciate what you did for us." Henry clapped Harry on the shoulder, "and to let you know that if there is anything I can do for you, well, you just have to ask." "Same here," Harry nodded. "If I can do anything to help, I will." "Henry, make sure they have a way to contact us." "I did," Henry nodded. "Before I forget," Henry laughed, "I have to know, did you find any opals?" "A few." Harry pulled them out of his pocket. "I kept a couple for souvenirs and left the rest in the room." "Why didn't you keep them all?" Henry examined Harry's finds. "I've just wanted a few things to give to my friends." Harry handed an opal to Henry and another to the doctor. "And I wanted this one for myself since it was the first one I found. Weren't many anyway." "Well, I'm glad you had enough luck to find something then." Henry smiled. "Come back anytime." "I might." Harry nodded. "Aside from the spider attacks, I really like it here." "Goodbye." "Goodbye, mate." Henry shook all their hands before they stepped out into the hall. "And thanks again." "Thanks for the opal." Henry examined her gift. "Yes, thank you," the doctor agreed. "Don't worry about it." Harry blushed. "Professor Port us up." Nice fellas." Henry shook his head. "Leaving a few behind for me." "No, for my little girl." "Are you going to go see what he left?" one of the women asked. "Why not?" Henry shrugged. "Can't be much not after seeing what he took with him, but it's more than I got now." It wasn't easy, but Henry managed to walk to his daughter's unfinished bedroom to grab what Mr. Black had been generous enough to leave behind. His jaw dropped in shock. "Looks like my little girl's going through college a dozen times if she wants to." Henry gathered the opals in 2 large 5-gallon buckets and carried them into the bedroom to show his wife. "I assume that there's a reason you brought those dirty buckets into my clean bedroom." Daphne gave him a mock glare. "Look at this." Henry's face was pale and his voice was hoarse. "Look what Mr. Black left behind for his goddaughter." "Well," Daphne stared at the small fortune in her husband's hands. "I don't suppose he'd be willing to come back and be the godfather of our other children, would he?" "We don't have any other children." Henry blinked. "We will, hon." Daphne smiled. "Now that money isn't as much of a worry, I am going to want a bigger family so that the little one doesn't get lonely." So." Amelia took a sip of her tea. "How are things in your department these days?" "Can't complain." Her guest shrugged. "We've got plenty of mysteries to look into, enough to keep us busy anyway." "I see." Amelia nodded. "I've been receiving some odd notes lately." "Oh." Her guest raised his eyebrow. "From someone who says that he's a Death Eater that wants to defect." Amelia snagged a scone. "He says that he doesn't want to go free, so what does he want then?" "He says that all he needs is a medium-sized cage." Amelia took a bite out of her scone. "Preferably in a place with no dementors, but he's willing to compromise on that if need be." "Oh, odd that he doesn't care about the dementors." Her guest grabbed a cookie from the tray. "Do you know the name of this Death Eater?" "No." Amelia shook her head. "All I know is that he's afraid of Mr. Black and wants to be protected." "Ah." Her guest gave a polite nod. So Amelia smiled. "Has anything odd happened in your department?" "Nothing much." Her guest shrugged. "Business as usual and all that." "I see." Amelia kept her face impassive. "So I was wondering." "Yes, who does your department report to?" Amelia batted her eyelashes and smiled. "Me." Her guest smiled. "You know that, Amelia. And who do you report to?" "Grivna." Amelia gave him her best stare, the stare that had caused hardened Death Eaters to break down and confess their crimes, the stare that had Fudge break down and call for his mother in the last budget meeting. "No one." Grivna blinked. "Oh, why are you asking?" "Well," Amelia sighed, "I've been trying to get information on Mr. Black." "Ah." Grivna coughed a bit and held up the teapot. "As far as I know, and I should know, he isn't connected with my department in any way. Can I refill your cup?" "Sure." Amelia held up her cup and palmed the small card that appeared on her saucer. It looked like Grivna didn't think her office was secure enough for this conversation. "We don't know much about Mr. Black." Grivna put the pot down. No affiliations, wealthy, good knowledge of spells, nothing definite though." "So you've got the same information I do." Amelia exhaled. "I suppose it can't be helped. I will let you know if I find anything." Grivna smiled. "Or if I hear any more interesting rumors." "I appreciate that." Amelia smiled. "And I'll see you tomorrow for our afternoon tea." "Goodbye, Amelia." Grivna left the room and Amelia allowed herself to glance down at the card he'd given her. 2 hours later, Amelia followed the directions printed on the card to a rather unusual location. "Glad you could come." Grivner led Amelia into a small room with 2 seats and a table. There are some things we need to discuss. What is this place? Amelia looked around at the barren walls. One moment please. Grivner locked the door and took a seat in the chair facing Amelia. Why? Amelia froze as 2 large cylinders lowered onto her and Grivner's chairs. What is all this? We're sitting in what is probably the most warded room in England. Grivner smiled. And the device that was lowered onto us is based on a device invented by one of our Muggle counterparts in America. What is it? Amelia couldn't believe the lengths that the head unspeakable was going to. It's called the Cone of Silence. Grivner smiled. But I believe I called you down here to talk about Mr. Black. He's a very interesting fellow. What can you tell me? Amelia was all business. First of all, Grivner smiled, I'd like to know why you thought he might be my superior. It's part of the information I was given by the Lovergoods, Amelia replied. Are the Lovergoods? Grivner nodded. That's another mystery. The man knows virtually everything that happens in the Department of Mysteries, and to my knowledge, he's never so much as set foot in our wing of the ministry. A few months ago I dropped a cabinet on my foot in my private office and no one was around. The next day I got a get well card signed by the Lovergood family. Young Luna admonished me to be more careful next time. I assume that you've checked your office for bugs. Amelia blinked. Checked and rechecked. Grivner sighed. By different groups of people every time. Nothing has ever been found. Oh, Amelia blinked again. I guess that's more evidence for my theory that they are working for Mr. Black. I hadn't thought of that. Grivner rubbed his chin. It does explain quite a bit, and I do admit that we do have evidence that there is another department, maybe not in our government or any government, but there are just too many coincidences to dismiss. Too many inconvenient people die in accidents. The cabinet that crushed might have prevented me from running into a Death Eater ambush, and since then I've been wondering about some other strange occurrences. I became an aura because the desk sergeant offered to tear up a citation for underage magic use if I'd sit through the exam. Amelia was stunned by the revelation, and I only got caught because there happened to be another aura walking down my street that day and she saw through my clumsy anti-detection wards. An odd feeling, isn't it? Grivner looked around. To think that someone is pulling our strings. What can you tell me about Mr. Black? Amelia leaned forward as far as the device would allow her. He's a baron in Transylvania. He's extremely wealthy. He has knowledge and books so rare that they might as well be legend. Grivner smiled. He has poisonous blood and can cast undetectable spells. We believe that he kills an average of 4 to 10 dark wizards or creatures a day, and we believe that he is at least 13,000 years old. What? Amelia went bug-eyed. How can you be sure? It's just a guess based on the evidence we've been able to collect. Grivner smiled. While in Egypt, he discovered several tombs hidden so well that they'd gone unnoticed for centuries, and he did it on his way to a valley that had been hidden and warded by the greatest mages in the old kingdoms. Several of these tombs spoke of the Dark One, the Destroyer, a being of unspeakable horror that laid waste to the lands of the kingdom, and may have been responsible for the sinking of Atlantis. Mr. Black mentioned that he was in the area to recover a book that we believe was a diary written by Merlin. Mr. Black also mentioned that Merlin was thrown out of Atlantis for being too weak and later referred to the great mage as a snot-nosed kid. My God, Amelia blinked. What happens if he decides to turn his attention to us? I thought that we were living in dark times now, but it doesn't look like that is a worry. Grivner smiled in relief. Information suggests that he is either retired or redeemed. One of my men has advanced the theory that Black may not have been a Dark Lord so much as a freedom fighter. His well-known hatred for Death Eaters and any sort of blood purists, combined with the fact that we don't know much of anything about the society in ancient Atlants, means that the government could have been something along the lines of what will happen if Tom Riddle wins. History is written by the winner, Amelia agreed. Wait, didn't you say that Merlin was thrown out of Atlantis for his lack of power? It fits. Grivner's eyes lit up. If they were willing to exile a wizard for low power, then imagine what they would have done to a squib or a muggle. And following your theory, Amelia gave a slow nod. They did it to the wrong person and angered Mr. Black, who destroyed their civilization in retaliation. Grivner's eyes widened. I gots, think what would have happened to us if Fudge's insane plan had annoyed Mr. Black, or worse, if they had accidentally harmed one of Black's friends. Amelia froze. I don't think we'd be having this conversation if they had made a mistake like that. I don't know if anyone in England would be having any conversations if something like that happened. Grivner shuddered. Thanks go to Chris Hill for the idea of doing a scene with Grivner and Bones and for most of the details. Good job, and it gave me a great place to put a few points about Mr. Black's past that I needed a home for.